Meanwhile, the median time to get approval to build a house there is 627 days. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State.
Let me pose a question that should make anyone pause. Why does it take 627 days just to secure approval to build a single home in a state that constantly warns about a housing shortage? By the time the green light finally arrives, the opportunity is gone. This has nothing to do with storms, labor issues, or construction setbacks. It's pure paperwork. Now stack that against one of the most famous buildings ever created, the Empire State Building. That entire landmark was completed in 410 days, nearly 100 years ago. No modern software, no automation, no digital planning tools. If that contrast doesn't make you stop and think, it's hard to imagine what would. That's why Bill Maher has finally hit his breaking point. He's voicing what countless Californians have been muttering for years. And before we go on, take a second, like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment. Do you think California is overwhelmed by red tape, or do you believe the system is working as intended? These are the conversations people usually avoid. What makes this moment stand out is who's saying it. Maher isn't a conservative commentator or a shock jock personality. He's been a reliable liberal voice for decades. So when someone like him says this has gone too far, it lands differently. It makes people listen. His example was refreshingly simple. He wanted to replace a garage door. Just one. Not a major development. Not a massive project. And yet it triggered multiple reviews, endless forms, delays, and added costs. No clear public benefit, just bureaucracy in motion. For Californians, this feels normal. For everyone else,
regulations that aren't necessary, that aren't, I mean, this, you really don't believe that the state we live in, California, is lacking regulation. There's over 300,000 regulations. I mean,
Well, maybe they're needed.
They're not. When I tried to put in a garage door, I had to have 3 inspections. And there should have been none. I should be allowed to change my garage door.
Are you kidding? Really? It was about a garage door?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. That is...
It's hard to believe. The state isn't just regulated, it's tangled in rules. Over 300,000 of them. That's not oversight anymore. That's paralysis. Housing projects stall for years. Big infrastructure plans fade after press conferences. High-speed rail becomes a running joke, while real threats like wildfires keep growing. This isn't forward motion. It's a system stuck in place, and more people are finally willing to say it out loud. California has perfected the art of spending enormous sums of money while producing very little, and Bill Maher isn't afraid to say it. The state delivers services reminiscent of a dysfunctional DMV, yet taxes residents at rates rivaling Scandinavian countries. Our marginal tax rate is the highest in the nation. It looms over us like a mountain.
California is the place that spends money and gets nothing, which is why you may have noticed when the fires broke out, no one escaped by high-speed rail. We have the highest marginal tax rate in America, higher than almost all other states, and soon Greenland.
Towering above nearly every other state. And what do residents get in return? A tent with basic plumbing is considered a starter home in today's insane housing market. Roads crumble, blackouts roll through neighborhoods, and the promise of progress feels distant. Maher's critique goes beyond policy missteps. It's a cautionary tale about one-party dominance. Without competition, there's no pressure, no urgency, no incentive to improve.
Oh, you know this about California.
No, I don't.
Well,
I'm sorry, I don't.
You don't? You've never heard that California is overtaxed and overregulated? That we are a one-party state where there's sort of no checks on that sort of extreme leftism. And that, what do you think?
I don't for a minute consider California a state that is extreme leftist. Not at all, not any way.
Well, that shows where your politics are. That's not where mine are. I'm sorry to tell you.
This isn't about Democrats versus Republicans. It's about accountability versus complacency. Look at swing states like Arizona, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. Politicians there know that mistakes can cost them their careers. Every decision is scrutinized. Every misstep has consequences. In California, political tenure is almost guaranteed. When leaders know they're unlikely to face real opposition, they stop working to earn voter trust. Instead, they cater to activists, funders, and bureaucrats. Competition breeds action. Monopolies breed laziness.
I don't really like them that much. They just think the far left has gone so nutty on so many issues.
That's what they're being told.
That's what they...
By people like you.
Because it's...
Today, California politics are the ultimate monopoly. Housing costs soar while infrastructure decays. Committees argue endlessly. Regulations remain fixed, and fixing problems becomes someone else's responsibility. The contrast hits hard when Maher is challenged, told California isn't overregulated, overtaxed, or politically extreme. Enter Jane Fonda. Her life has been extraordinary, but it exists in a world where rules are abstract. Rising energy costs
We have spent the last 2 decades in perpetual drought here, yet almond farmers in California have doubled in that time. Despite the fact that almond production alone uses more water than all the humans and businesses in San Francisco and Los Angeles combined, even on days when your teenage son spends 2 hours showering. How much water it takes to grow different crops, oranges, tomatoes, strawberries, all take about 11 gallons to make 1 pound. Almonds, 1,900 gallons. That wasn't a problem back when it rained, but now there simply isn't enough water to go around, and we have to make a painful choice, getting it to the people or getting it in the nut.
permits, taxes, housing, they barely affect her. For the average Californian, though, these realities dictate rent, utility bills, and the ability to start a business or hold a job. What feels like a moral exercise to the wealthy is survival for everyone else. Maher makes a sharp and compelling point about why so many voters backed Trump, not because he was perfect, but because he spoke to their frustration. His tweets weren't polished or tactful, but they resonated. While elites lectured from gated neighborhoods, everyday Americans were drowning in costs created by people who had never been held accountable. That anger, Maher argues, was entirely understandable. One permit at a time, one bureaucratic hurdle after another.
California agriculture accounts for 80% of our water use, even though California agriculture is less than 2% of our economy. We actually have enough water. We just give way too much of it to farmers who get their water subsidized by the government because we still act like it's 1890 and farmers are small and independent when they're really mostly part of big ag. And corporations get what they want in it.
The system grew heavier and more suffocating. Then Maher shifts to a nearly absurd example, California's water crisis. For the past 2 decades, the state has faced near constant drought. Everyone knows the drill: shorter showers, brown lawns, reused towels as if on a camping trip. Yet at the same time, almond production has skyrocketed. The math is shocking. Almost 11 liters of water per pound of strawberries, tomatoes, or oranges, and a staggering 9,900 liters per pound of almonds. And who pays for this? We do. Agriculture consumes nearly 80% of California's water, yet represents less than 2% of the state's GDP. These aren't small family farms. They're massive corporate operations benefiting from cheap water laws that date back to the 1890s.
The vast network of regulators, administrators, inspectors, contract reviewers, project managers, fee assessors, special commissioners, zoning officers, and consultants whose jobs seem to be to make sure nothing ever happens and then charge you for it. The people who answer the phone, "Permit office, how may I hinder you?"
Maher's point is simple. When a resource is scarce, it should carry a proper cost. Instead, rural wells run dry, cities impose strict limits, and taxpayers cover the excess. This isn't environmentalism, it's mismanagement. And who profits? The same entrenched interests, businesses with lobbyists, endless bureaucracy, and regulators who create problems justifying their continued presence. This leads us to one of the harshest critiques of California's system: the idea that bureaucracy exists not to help, but to slow everything down and then charge you for the privilege. Permit officers, inspectors, zoning boards.
Rating of 6.6%.
Round it up. Stop.
I mean, you were just the ambassador to Japan. If that was your approval rating in Japan, they would do harakiri on live TV.
They would do it at 27.
I mean, what's going on in Chicago?
Look, I mean, we were talking about this a little earlier. I mean, you have also the mayor of New York not doing well. Obviously, other things also here in Los Angeles. not doing well, the mayor here. Look, and then you got mayors like the mayor of San Francisco and other cities that are doing well. So I would say, look, there is a general rule. I had this when I was mayor. Safe streets, strong schools, stable finances. Focus on those three things and your city's going to be fine.
Review panels, special commissioners, and consultants all seem to share a single mission: create friction, increase fees, and stretch every process to its breaking point. The effect is a system where nothing moves efficiently, and the public pays the price. As a result, energy companies relocate, tech workers cash out and move to states like Texas, Florida, or Tennessee, places where innovation and manufacturing aren't penalized. And it's not just big corporations leaving. Young professionals, families, and retirees are increasingly aware that they're contributing to a system that takes more from them every year while giving less in return. Maher calls it economic self-sabotage. When a state punishes productivity and success, people leave rather than fight the system. From state government down to city leadership, the consequences ripple outward. Approval ratings tell the story clearly. Rahm Emanuel jumps in to underline a tough reality. City mayors fail less because challenges are impossible, and more because priorities are off. Securing neighborhoods, maintaining strong schools, and keeping finances stable, these are the fundamentals. When leaders chase ideology over practical results,
Going through 5 years where people became way too permissive of the culture. They were all, which is why everything's locked up at Walgreens and CVS, and that is a disaster.
Yeah.
And our school, and I'll say this about our schools. I don't want to hear another word about the locker room. I don't want to hear another word about the bathroom. You better start focusing on the classroom. We had the worst reading scores for 8th graders in 30 years. And nobody, not a governor, not a mayor, not a president, not a secretary of education is talking about it. We're all wrapped up. Look, in 7th grade, if I known that I could have said the word they and got in the girls' bathroom, I would have done it.
people who rely on effective governance are left to pay the price. This is the hard truth. It's about results, not cultural battles, symbolic gestures, or endless arguments over language, even as crime rises and stores hide deodorant behind glass. When CVs and Walgreens start to feel like armored vaults, something has gone seriously wrong. And perhaps the biggest casualties are the schools. 8th grade reading scores have hit their lowest point in 30 years. 3 decades. What are leaders focused on instead? Lockers, restrooms, and pronouns. Rahm Emanuel is visibly frustrated, and for good reason. Children are sent to school to learn, to read, write, and think, not to be subjects in political experiments. Education suffers when classrooms become ideological battlegrounds. Appearance-driven politics and virtue signaling won't fix that. Step back, and the picture is clear. California isn't failing because of a lack of empathy. It's failing because of a lack of discipline. Leaders aren't willing to challenge bad ideas, powerful interests, or runaway bureaucracy. Without competition or accountability, nothing improves. Maher calls for a different approach. Responsibility, pragmatism, common sense, faster home building, fair water pricing, and a renewed focus on safety and education. Regulation should serve the public, not act as a badge of virtue. California used to attract people seeking opportunity. Now they're leaving, and that should worry everyone. If this video made you think, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Can California be fixed? Or has the system grown too comfortable with failure? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next performance.